Quick question. If you buy a house in Toronto in 2026 and rates don't drop, do you still win? Because most people think the risk is overpaying. That's not the real risk. The real risk is buying the wrong kind of home at the wrong moment with the wrong assumptions and getting stuck for years. And in this video, I'm going to walk you through the exact 2026 buyer decision scorecard I use with clients, the same framework that tells you very clearly whether you should buy or wait. And later in this video, I'm going to show you one chart, Toronto home prices going back to the 1980s, that explains why the 1990s felt terrifying in time, that explains why the 1990s felt terrifying in real time, but quietly became one of the best long-term buying windows in this city's history. If you wait and you're wrong, you don't just lose time, you lose choices, you lose leverage. And in Toronto, can lose tens and sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars in long-term equity. If you buy and you're wrong, the cost is different. You don't lose money on paper, you lose peace of mind. You become payment poor. You feel trapped. Every rate headline stresses you out. That's why 2026 is such a dangerous year to misunderstand, because this is not a boom market, and it's not a crash market either. It's something much harder to navigate. Before we go any further, let me give you a quick test you can do right now, because this alone tells you more than most headlines ever will. If you're renting for, say, let's say $3,500 a month, and your future mortgage payment would be around $5,000. For the next 90 days, keep paying your rent and put the extra $1,500 into savings every month. If that feels crushing, you just learned something important. If it feels manageable, you're training for ownership before you buy. Keep that test in mind. We'll come back to it. So why does 2026 feel so confusing? Let's rewind a bit. In 2022, the story was simple. Rates were rising fast, buyers froze, everyone was scared of buying right before a drop. Then 2023 and 2024 became an affordability grind. Rates moved around, prices didn't collapse, and people kept waiting for a crash that never really showed up in Toronto. There was a correction, but not a crash. Now we're heading into 2026, and the tone is completely different. Inventory isn't bone dry anymore. Buyers aren't panicking. Sellers don't fully control the market. This is the most balanced Toronto market we've seen in years, maybe decades. And balance is uncomfortable because it removes obvious answers. I'm going to share my screen with you. So this is a months of inventory graph. It shows you if we're a buyer's market, seller's market, or balanced market. When months of inventory is high, then it is a buyer's market. Buyers have leverage. When month of inventory is low, sellers have leverage. And the month of inventory, when months of inventory sits around 4, balanced market. So give you an example. Back in 2021, during the height of the market, before all the prices, before interest rates started jumping, we were sitting around here. It's like less than 0.7 months of inventory, 1.1 months of inventory, 0.65 months of inventory. And when rates started jumping up and when the market froze, you see it jumped from 0.8 to 3, which is to about almost 3. Not too bad still, right? That tells you that inventory was still not that great. So it was still technically a seller's market, even though it slowed down immensely. But having said that, as you can see, month of inventory has been rising the last little while to the point where we are right here. We're saying these are looking at houses in Toronto. We're saying 4 months of inventory right now. That's a balanced market. Switch that over. So we're looking at condos and condo townhouses. Even back in 2021, yeah, it was low because everything was selling, condos included. But you can see when rates started going up, like inventory started going up as well. But currently right now, we're seeing it at 6.5 months of inventory, almost 7 months of inventory, clearly a buyer's market. So this indicates what type of market we're in. So you have to know if you're selling. Let's say you're selling in, let's say downtown Toronto. That's C1 and C8. You can see months of inventory for condos and condo townhouses right now. We're sitting about 6.14. It's getting better, as you can see. The amount of inventory is getting depleted right now, but still in a buyer's market, as you can see. And let's say you wanted to sell a house downtown Toronto, and let's say you want to move to the west side of the city, which would be over here. And now we're looking at houses in this part. So the neighborhoods in this area would be, I'll just show you, High Park, Bronxville, Parkdale, right? So if you're over there and looking at houses, you see that you're coming from 6 months of inventory and going to an area that has 1.6 months of inventory. So clearly two completely different markets. Let's say you want to move to the east side of the city. Let's say over here, which covers the Pocket, Greenwood, Coxwell, Riverdale. There, houses are about 2.4 months of inventory. Still a seller's market, but trending towards almost a balance. Not yet though. So you've fared way better there than Rossesville for sure. But again, this is the neighborhood as a whole. So right now it's normalization. Everything's sort of balancing. It's not a flood, not a shortage. That's why 2026 doesn't reward hopeful buyers. It rewards prepared ones. Here's the real risk buyers face in 2026. Risk number one, confusing balance with safety. A balanced market doesn't mean a safe purchase. It means you can negotiate, but only if you know where. So two buyers can buy in the same year, same city, and have completely different outcomes. The difference isn't timing, it's selection. Let me show you something most buyers completely ignore. This is how you find negotiable homes. So let's say I was looking in the west side of the city. This is how I'll search for homes that are negotiable. You know, obviously it has to be a decent house. First of all, like looking at everything in W1 right now, these are just freehold homes. There's not too many, as you know, we know earlier. Let's actually check W2. W2 might have a little bit more right now. It's a slow time of the year anyways, around this time of the year. But when you look at W2 right now, first I would actually sort all these when they listed. So I'll look at the ones that have been on the market the longest and go the other way around. A lot of people like to search by cheapest to most expensive. Yeah, that's not bad too. But you know what? To find the deals, you look at ones that have been on the market for a while. See, this is one right now. I'm looking at places that have been on the market for over 100 days because those were the ones I'll try to attack first in terms of seeing if they're viable. You look at the properties, making sure that they're good. And then, you know, that's where some of these sellers might be open to discounts on their list price, substantial. Some of them are staying put. Some of them won't move, obviously. Again, you have to try to find the negotiable home. And this is one way to do it, doing it that way. And also, we have a way to search as well, though, that we could see when we search, we can look at all the new ones that come on the market and look at the previous listings as well. So you add all those up to see how long they've been on the market for. Days on market tells you seller psychology. A home listed for 60, 90, 120 days or more is a different conversation than one that listed last Tuesday. These sellers are open to price adjustments, credits, repairs. This is where leverage quietly lives in 2026. Now, occasionally, you'll see power of sale properties. These are automatic deals, but they reset the expectations. So these properties, sometimes there's deals, sometimes there's not. The ones that have been on the market for a while, maybe, but the ones that are newly come on the market, they have to sell for the highest possible as well. That's the process of a power of sale. The bank has to try to sell as much as possible, not just recoup their costs, but also any extra goes back to the seller or the old owner. Sometimes these properties do sell for a discount, but it takes time as well, though. So for first-time home buyers, around $1 million, biggest risk is in price. It's about stretching the payment because you came from maybe from nothing or a smaller payment to where you are right now. So you have to be very careful about what the monthlies are. For move-up families, around the $1.2 to $2 million mark, the risk is different. It's buying before selling or selling before buying. It's timing mismatch. I made a video just for this. Just wait till the end and you'll see a link to it. In a market like this, confidence without proper sequence is exposure. Okay, now I want you to look at a chart with me. So check out this chart. This is the average home prices through TRREB for the last since 1975. Wow, that was when I was born. So when I was born, houses were well under $100,000. Way different now. So you can see all the bumps. You can see where there were crazy increases in price and then corrections. And then also how prices have been going to almost exponentially last a little while. So you can see we've been through something similar to where the 80s were. The 80s were a lot of price appreciation. As you can see, houses jumped from like under 100,000 to almost 300,000. And you can see that the correction happened around 1990. Everything came down right after 1990. And it lasted, see this correction over here, lasted for about a decade, a little bit over a decade before prices came back up to where the 1990 was, like almost 15 years. But having said that, most homes that you purchase, you're not selling in about 5 years. You hold on to them for like minimum, like about 15, 20 plus more years. And let's say someone bought into the 1990s when it was scary. This is probably scary times right here because the market was still going down. Imagine you bought even here. You hold on to the house for 20 years, right? That puts you about, that's like 2005, let's say around here. So you bought over here, which is about 200,000, even though it was on a downward market. You don't know how much down is going to go because no one knows. And you end up selling around, let's say around here. So the price of your home essentially almost doubled. You bought it for about 200,000, so for 400,000. The same thing that happened, let's say you bought in the early 2000s and you hold the house for 20 years. You bought it at a little bit over 200,000 and you hold it for 20 years, which puts you over here, 900,000. So essentially, you hold it for 20 years, your property way more than double. It's quadrupled in price. So that's what's happening over here. This is where we don't have any future properties yet, future things yet. But this is very similar to this, as you can see. So buying it over here, it's not bad because unless you're going to probably sell the house in 5 years, which, if you do, then maybe 2026 is not the time to buy a house. Having said that, usually markets are very similar where you buy and sell from. If you buy a house and you sell in the house market, they're usually similar markets. But right now, anyone that's moving up from a smaller house to a bigger house, they're seeing big advantages right now because the detached houses and the bigger houses are on sale right now, while the semi-detached homes are very desirable in a seller's market. So let's say you even bought here. That's equivalent as buying over here. You hold on to the properties for 20 years, then you're going to be over here off the screen, up over here somewhere. So might it double or even tripled in price based on historical data. You see why if you look at history, it's not a bad time to buy right now if you're not planning to sell in a short time. And you could actually afford it. That's the other thing as well, that you're not stretching yourself. So you see very similar patterns from the 80s and 90s to they are right now. Markets are very similar and they have similar patterns. They don't always happen all the time, but when they do, feel the same sort of thing. Because right now, a lot of people are confident, but they're a little bit concerned still with the market because it's not very clear. Same thing with people in the early 90s for those people that purchased. But ask anyone that bought it in the 90s compared to where they are now, are they happy that they bought it in the 90s? Because most of those people bought it in the 90s compared to where they are now, the houses probably tripled in price. And that's because most real estate wealth in Toronto didn't come from perfect timing. It came from not being forced out. I'm not saying 2026 is the bottom. I'm not saying prices can't move sideways. I'm saying uncomfortable periods often look very different with enough time. And hindsight's always 2020. We know that. So here's my 2026 buyer decision scorecard. So when people ask me, should I buy in 2026? I don't answer with predictions. I answer with a framework, the scorecard. Number one, payment comfort. Can you afford the payment today without hoping for rates to come down or raise? Number two, stability in your job, income, relationship, and a minimum 5-year horizon. And three, leverage. Are you buying where inventory gives you options? Options as in you can negotiate certain things. And four, reserves. Do you have money left over after closing? Not just a down payment, but extra money, rainy day fund. Number five, flexibility. If life changes, can you hold, rent, or pivot? If you check these boxes, waiting doesn't automatically make you safer. So here's my blunt take. Buying in 2026 is not about bravery, and waiting is not about intelligence. It's about alignment. Buy when your life is ready, not when the market's perfect. The market's never going to be perfect. Every market has its pros and cons. And if this video helped you think more clearly, subscribe to this channel. Every week I break down videos for Toronto buyers and families and sellers trying to make smart decisions. Because the people who win in markets like this aren't the fastest, they're the most prepared.